Naruto. Copy everything from the Uzumaki Clan. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 101. Ice Age. Xingyu's hands quickly formed more than a dozen seals, and the cold aura spread from around Xingyu to all around. Yoshinobu, who fled in a panic, was frozen by the cold air, and the fire ignited by Yoshinobu with fire oil was directly extinguished by the cold air. Under the control of Hashiha, only the rain ninja was frozen in ice, and the ninja of Konoha was not affected. In the past, Xingyu couldn't control it, but now Xingyu's mastery of being done has improved by more than one level. Xingyu can be said to be the strongest ice ninja in the history of the ninja world, and the Shui Wuyue clan of Mist Hidden Village is the younger brother in front of Star Feather's ice escape. Xiaonan, do you feel a little cold? Xingyu asked Xiaonan. Xiaonan nodded, his little face was a little red, and there was cold ice under his feet, as if he was standing in the ice and snow at this time. Hoshi Feather opens the eternal kaleidoscope riding wheel eye, and then casts the pupil technique Amaterasu, and a black flame ignites on the ice, and then Hoshi Feather uses the Earth Life control to prevent Amaterasu black flame from spreading. It's not cold when you bake a fire. Xingyu said towards Xiaonan, is the flame black too? Xiaonan was very surprised by Amaterasu, and it was the first time he saw black flames. Isn't that right? Xingyu also did not make a move. The entire camp was frozen by Xingyu. As long as it was in the camp, no one could escape. It's a pity that there is no Hanzo. Hanzo should have run away before he returned. It is estimated that the old guy smelled the crisis. Frozen in the entire camp, not a single teammate has been accidentally injured, and it is inseparable from the cooperation of Kagura's heart. If Hashiha did not have the super perception secret technique of Kagura Heart Eye, it is estimated that the ninja of Konoha would have been frozen by Hoshiyu together. On the other side of the battlefield, the three generations of Kazekage looked at the frozen Konoha camp, and their hearts were extremely shocked. Retreat. The three generations of Kazekage did not hesitate to order Shinobu to retreat, and Shinobu immediately withdrew after receiving the order. Damn old woman, you must catch her this time. Joshinai, Mikoto, you come and help. After Tsunade fought off Chiyo's puppet, he shouted at Kushina and Mikoto. Kushina and Mikoto, who were killing the Shinoba, immediately abandoned their enemies and ran to help Tsunade. However, even if they shot together, they still let Chiyo run away, but her Kenmatsu 10-person puppets were really torn apart this time. Run away, the puppeteer is disgusting. Tsunade punches the puppet that has become apart. Controlling the puppet in front and hiding behind himself is very annoying to Tsunade, but the puppeteer fights by relying on the puppet, so naturally he has to hide behind. Chiyo's own strength is not weak, but Chiyo is still a puppeteer, and it is impossible to rush up and fight with Tsunade. Sant Shinobu retreated. Konoha's ninja did not chase. Kiki Shua Shigeru quickly took the Konoha ninja back to the camp. It's really an exaggerated ninjutsu. I can't imagine that this is an 11-year-old imp released. How many chakras does that little ghost of Xingyu have? Zilai also looked at the entire camp that was frozen in ice, obviously shocked. Well, what are you looking at, Orochimaru? Jiraiya asked towards the big snake pill next to him. Orochimaru's gaze looked at Ichigo Shizuru, and at this time Ichigo Shizuru was still controlled by the Sharingan, and the three-hooked jade Sharingan in his eyes did not disappear. Sharingan, is Shizuru controlled by Sharingan? Orochimaru frowned. On the battlefield of Shinobu, there is no one from the Uchiha family. No, there is a Uchiha Mikoto. Orochimaru almost forgot Uchiha Mikoto, who was with Uzumaki Hashiha. Could it be that Uchiha Mikoto controlled Ichigo Moritsuru? To be honest, Orochimaru didn't believe it. Orochimaru didn't think that Uchiha Mikoto had this ability. If it was Uzumaki Star Feather it was about the same. But how could Uzumaki Star Feather have a chakra eye? This big guy is under control. I'll try to see if I can seal it. Jyoshina looked at Ichigo Moritsuru and said. However, just as Jyoshinai was about to cast the 4-elephant seal, Tsunade reached out and grabbed Jyoshinai. Or don't try. If the seal doesn't work, but breaks the control of the Star Feather, who will deal with the tail? Jyoshinai ruthlessly stopped. Even the psychic beast of the pepperfish could not deal with it, and it was even more useless to deal with a crane. Ikkyo Moritsuru ignored it for the time being, and Tsunade, Kushina, and Mikoto also returned to the camp and found Hashiha and Konan, who were roasting the fire. The black flame, Tsunade is very strange, but compared to the strange Tsunade, Kushina, and Mikoto already know what kind of flame it is. Mikoto thought of the legendary Amaterasu black flame recorded by her family, and was actually taken by Hoshiyu to roast the fire, and there was an indescribable strangeness in her heart. Xingyu pulled Xiaonan to stand up, and then extinguished Amaterasu black flame. Shinobu retreated? Well, Shinobu has already retreated, and you can deal with the Ichigo Moritsuru outside the camp. Don't have any accidents. Tsunade nodded, then said to Hashiba, good. When Xingyu was about to go out to deal with Ichigo Shizuru, Chimu Shuamao came to find him. Xingyu, can you undo ninjutsu? Commander Chimu, you're not joking with me, are you? How can the unleashed ninjutsu be revoked? Xingyu couldn't help but complain wordlessly. Can't you just let the ice melt? the supplies were also frozen. If you can't do it now, you will have a deeper control over being done in the future. Maybe you can do it. Xingyu replied to Chimu Shuamao. He really couldn't do it. That's a bit of a hassle. Chimu Shuamao had a little headache. The ice cast by Xingyu was very hard, and Chimu Shuamao slashed with a white-toothed short blade, but he didn't cut it. If you let the ice melt on its own, how long will it take? Chimu Shuamao asked. After all, ninjutsu was released by Xingyu. He should know. The country of rain is rainy all year round, there is no sun at all, and it may not melt completely for half a month. Even if the sun is exposed, it is not so easy to melt, let alone the rain country where the sun cannot be seen. It's not okay to use fire to melt, at most it takes a little effort. Xingyu said towards Chimu Shuamao. That's it. Chimu Shuamao left, ready to find someone to use the fire to melt the ice, and then took out the supplies. Xingyu went directly to find Ikkyo Shizuru. Looking at Ikkyo Shizuru, Xingyu was not ready to seal Ikkyo Shizuru back this time. On the contrary, Xingyu directly withdrew the one-tailed crane completely, and withdrew it from the body of the one-tailed human pillar power. As for the old monk of Finfu, after Xingyu withdrew the crane, he naturally couldn't live, and even the human pillar power of the Vortex clan was extracted from the tailed beast. There was only one way to die, let alone the old monk of Finfu. After the Ikkyo Shoha was pulled out, it was also out of the control of Star Feather, and at this time Ichigo Shoha stared at Star Feather angrily. The reason was naturally that the person Zhili died of Finfu. Ikkyo Shizuru has a good impression of the person Finfu Zhili, and he also has some recognition of him, and he does not hate him so much, so he will be angry because of Finfu's death. Episode 102. The big tanuki cat of Ichigo Shoha was staring at Xingyu angrily, but it only dared to stare angrily and did not dare to make a move. I helped you escape the cage, shouldn't you thank me? Xingyu looked at the angry tanuki cat and said. A word woke up the dream beast, and instantly Shoha came back to his senses, and he seemed to be free. The original anger disappeared, although he had some agreement with the old monk of Finfu, and felt that his philosophy was similar to that of the old man of the Six Tao. But all this seemed to be worth mentioning in the face of freedom. Since being captured and used as a weapon by humans, Shizuru has been thinking about freedom all the time. The crane that came to his senses quickly ran on small short legs and ran towards the distance. Where are you running? I worked hard to release you. Don't you appreciate me? Hoshi, you blocked the running Shizuru, and the somewhat strange-looking eternal kaleidoscope riding wheel stared at Ichigo Shizuru. Subsequently, Xingyu did not talk nonsense with Shoha, and the eternal kaleidoscope riding wheel eye completely controlled Shoha. Controlling a tailed beast is completely unburdensome for Star Feather, and even when the Sharingan has not yet evolved into an eternal kaleidoscope, Star Feather can easily control the tailed beast, including the 9 tails. Lord Orochimaru, voyeurism is bad behavior. I suggest you don't do such a thing. After Xingyu controlled Shoha, his eyes looked somewhere, and he saw a scary figure with pale skin come out. It was the proud disciple of the 3 generations of Hokage Ape Flying Sun, the Great Snake Pill. Just now, when Xingyu used the eternal kaleidoscope riding wheel eye to control Shotsuru, the big snake pill peeked in the shadows, but Star Feather did not point it out. Hiss. Unexpectedly, Xingyu-kun actually has a chakra eye, or the legendary kaleidoscope chakra eye. Orochimaru's voice was a little hoarse, and his interested gaze was on Xingyu's body. Lord Orochimaru seems to know a secret that is incredible. Do you want to shut up forever? Xingyu smiled and walked towards the big snake pill. The thick pressure made the big snake pill snake pupil shrink sharply, and a strong sense of crisis completely enveloped him. Big snake pill, it's better for you to guess. I don't have the strength to shut you up. The big snake pill forcibly suppressed the angry thought of running away in his heart, and then said calmly, Xingyu-kun is scaring me, right? Xingyu-kun should not be afraid of exposing the matter of Sharingan, right? Although he was asking, the big snake pill was very sure in his heart, if he was really afraid of exposure, he would not use it so openly. There were many ninjas who had seen Moritsuru being controlled by Sharingan before. It doesn't seem to scare you, Orochimaru. The momentum on Xingyu's body all converged, which made the big snake pill breathe a sigh of relief. The momentum of Xingyu just now really brought a lot of pressure to the big snake pill, and even the pressure that teacher Ape Fei did not feel. Hashiyu-kun, why do you have the Sharingan? Although the big snake pill knew that this question should not be asked, but the curiosity still let the big snake pill ask it. This question really wants to know. Xingyu's Sharingan is not transplanted, and the transplanted Sharingan cannot be retracted, and it will be in a state where the Sharingan eye is always on. This question, with your great snake pill's wisdom, can't you guess? Xingyu asked lightly, and then turned to leave, and Ichigo Shizuru also followed behind Xingyu, following Star Feather and leaving like a follower. The big snake pill's gaze flickered, and then he didn't ask anything more, and there was a lot of curiosity in his heart, but the big snake pill held back. Curiosity can not only kill cats, but also kill people, and the big snake pill is quite desperate, but he does not dare to ask the Vortex Star Feather questions with his life. In the camp, at this time, Kiki Shua Shigeru had already commanded the Konoha ninja to take out the more important materials first. However, many of them were burned by Yushinobu, making Kiki Shuamao frown. Even with the appropriation of the daimyo of the Fire Nation, Konoha's materials don't have to worry too much. Chimu Shuamao is still a little worried. Far water cannot quench near thirst, and it is not so easy to transport materials, especially in the process of transporting materials. It is likely to be attacked. Xingyu didn't know Chimu Shuamao's sorrows, and he was not a conductor, so it wasn't his turn to worry. How did you bring it back? Tsunade looked at the behemoth behind Hoshiha. Moritsuru, a behemoth, has already frightened the ninja of Konoha, and now no Konoha ninja dares to approach here. The height of the tailed beast is about 50 to 60 meters, and ordinary people will feel afraid when facing such a behemoth. Why don't you bring it back? Do you want to return it to Shinobu? After Xingyu finished speaking, his eyes suddenly lit up. Do you want to let Sand Shinobu experience the fear of being dominated by the tailed beast? Do what you want. Hoshiba controls Ichigo Moritsuru to leave the Konoha ninja station, thinking about the direction of the shinobi station. This little short leg runs really fast. Ichigo Shizuru is about to become a ball, so it is extremely joyful to run, and Xingyu who watches it can't help but want to laugh. Hey, Xingyu, you really let it run. Tsunade couldn't help but pat Hoshi Feather angrily. This is a tailed beast, so he returned it to Shinobu. Don't worry, even if I put it back, Shinobu may not be able to accept it, and I would like to see how Shinobu will deal with Shoha. Xingyu said with a smile. Don't worry Tsunade, now that Moritsuru is still under my control, I can let Moritsuru run back at any time. Are you going to use Shizuru to deal with Shinobu? Tsunade now understood what Hoshiba meant, which was to use Shizuru to deal with Shinobu. Yes, I don't know if the 3 generations of Wind Shadows will be surprised. Under the control of Hoshiyu, Shizuru went straight to the Sand Shinobu station, although his legs were short, but Shizuru's size was a long distance to take a step. Soon appeared in front of the Sand Shinobu camp, and at the same time, the Shinobu who was in charge of guarding also saw the Moritsuru who appeared here. It's Ikkyo Shizuru, hurry up and inform the 3 generations of Kazekage. One of them, Murakami Shinobu, said to the ninja beside him. Soon, the 3 generations of Kazekage got the news and arrived with Aizo and Chiyo, and Hanzo also came with them. It's really Moritsuru. After the 3 generations of Wind Shadow saw Shoha, they did not panic in their hearts, but carried a strong surprise. The 3 generations of Wind Shadows are not right. You watch the eyes of the crane, it is the eye of the 3-hook jade riding wheel, and the crane is controlled. Although Chiyo is not young, this look is very good, and he clearly sees the 3-hook jade chakra eye in Shizuru's eyes. Just as Chiyo finished speaking, Moritsuru attacked, using the unique wind escape drill aerial bullet, and spit out a huge wind ball towards the Sand Ninja camp. Magnetic Sand Iron Defense. The 3rd generation of Wind Shadows reacted quickly, immediately controlling the Sand Iron, creating a huge Sand Iron defense wall in front of it to block the attack of the crane. However, as soon as he blocked the next one, Shizuru continued to use the wind escape drill air bomb, as if he didn't want money, and released it towards the Sand Ninja camp. Anyway, the chakra of the crane is enough, and there is no pressure at all when continuously released. Shoha has no pressure, but the pressure of the 3 generations of Wind Shadow is very large, and he has been using sand and iron defense, and the chakra consumed is too large, and the 3 generations of Wind Shadow can't hold on. Episode 103. The 3rd generation of Wind Shadow was very humiliated, and in the face of the attack of the Ichigo Moritsuru, he could only passively defend. Is it that his strength is not as good as Shoha? No, the 3rd generation of Wind Shadow still has the strength to suppress Shizuru, but his ability to suppress Shizuru does not mean that other Sand Ninja can survive Shoha's attack. In order to protect other ninjas, the 3 generations of Kazekage can only passively defend. Except for the ninjas of the ceiling class, the other ninjas evacuated. The 3rd generation of Wind Shadow ordered. The rest of the ninjas staying here not only couldn't help, but also got in the way, and the 3 generations of Kazekage simply let them leave. After hearing the order of the 3 generations of Kazekage, Shinobu quickly retreated, and Hanzo next to him also ordered Yushin to retreat with him. Hanzo, I need your help subduing Shizuru this time. The 3rd generation of Kazekage looked at Hanzo next to him and said, although he was able to suppress Ichigo Moritsuru, he himself was really a little difficult. No problem, but this sneak attack on the Konoha camp, does the loss of the 3 generations of Kazekage of the Rain Shinobu have to compensate? Hanzo did not refuse to make a move, but he also put forward a condition, this time to attack the Konoha camp. Hanzo personally led 50 elite ninjas. Only Hanzo himself was the last to return, and the other 50 ninjas were frozen into ice sculptures by Star Feather. 50 ninjas among the lowest elites, even Hanzo is a little distressed. This is an elite that has been cultivated with painstaking efforts. As long as you can help me seal Shoha, I will give you a satisfactory compensation. The 3 generations of Wind Shadows were expressionless, and their hearts were secretly angry, and Hanzo's current behavior was to take advantage of the fire and rob. Come out, Pepperfish. Hanzo uses psychic techniques to summon his psychic beast, the Pepperfish, and then causes the Pepperfish to rush up. The strength of the Pepperfish is definitely not as good as that of Shoha, but relying on its huge body, it is still no problem to resist some of Shoha's attacks in a short time. The 3 generations of Wind Shadows immediately struck, quickly sealed their hands, and then made a cage out of sand iron to keep Shizuru inside. The sealing class made a move and sealed the crane. The three generations of Kazekage shouted as they continued to attack Morozuru. Hanzo and the three generations of Kazekage used the water escape to attack Shizuru, including Umi Laozo and Chiyo are both attacking Shizuru. The four shadow-level powerhouses shot, especially Hanzo and the third generation of Wind Shadows are not ordinary shadow-level powerhouses, and Shoha really has no cards. It was suppressed in an instant, and the ninja of the sealing class rushed up and cast a sealing technique to seal the crane with absolutely no problem. After all, it's just Ikkyo. And compared to the Nine Tails, who put Konoha in crisis, Ikkyo's threat is really not great. Ichigo, this shameful thing. Xingyu, who was secretly observing, secretly cursed. Ikkyo's strength was really weak, and it was about to be solved without causing any casualties to Shinobu. No, it's also my booty. How can I be snatched back by you? My loot is not something you can snatch. Xingyu appeared above Shoha's head in a few moments, standing on Shoha's head and looking down at the three generations of Wind Shadows who were attacking Shoha. The three generations of Wind Shadows also discovered Xingyu and directly stopped looking at Xingyu. Vortex Star Feather, is Ichigo controlled by you? The three generations of Wind Shadows questioned Xingyu. Well, guess what? If you can guess correctly, there may be a reward, Xingyu said with a smile. Ichigo is controlled by the Sharingan, so it is not the Vortex Star Feather that controls Ikkyo, but the Vortex Star Feather appears here, and I am afraid that it will be troublesome to seal Ichigo. Chiyo said very seriously. If you want to seal a tail, you have to solve the Vortex Star Feather first. It is really troublesome, and the strength of the Vortex Star Feather makes them a little scared. If it had been before, they would never have imagined that they and others would be afraid of a teenage ghost. In any case, the tailed beast must be recaptured, and the Vortex Star Feather must also die. The three generations of Wind Shadow had a ruthless look on their faces. The strength of the Vortex Star Feather is so strong at this time, I am afraid that the strength will become stronger in the future, and it is not impossible to even surpass the god of the ninja realm, the Thousand Hands Pillar, who is also among the Thousand Hand Pillars, calming the chaotic times, suppressing the entire ninja world, recognized as the ninja god. When there was no death between the Thousand Hand Pillars, no village dared to make a second attempt, and the First Ninja World War also broke out after the death of the Thousand Hand Pillars. If Uzumaki Star Feather also has such strength in the future, it is undoubtedly what the three generations of Wind Shadow do not want to see, and even everyone in the ninja world does not want to see, including the three generations of Hokage Ape Flying Sun Slash. Who wants to have a person pressed on top of their head? Only Vortex Star Feather himself may not be able to get rid of him. Go together. Don't leave your hands. The three generations of Kazekage said solemnly, especially glancing at Hanzo. Umi Laozo and Chiyo are not worried, they will definitely go all out, but Hanzo does not know. Who knows if Hanzo will have any small calculations in his heart. Naturally, Hanzo's eyes flashed with cold light, and he was almost killed by Vortex Star Feather several times, and Hanzo naturally hated Vortex Star Feather. If he could kill Uzumaki Star Feather, Hanzo would naturally not show mercy. Are you going to kill me? It's really self-defeating. Xingyu smiled faintly. Of course Xingyu heard their words. Xingyu just felt that they were not self-sufficient. It's you who don't measure yourself, Vortex Star Feather. You are just a little ghost. You actually dare to appear here alone. It's really lawless with a little strength of yourself, Chiyo said with a cold smile at Hoshiha. Old lady Chiyo, you old woman who can't even keep her son, it's better to shut up quickly. Hoshiyu unceremoniously opened Chiyo's wounds, making Chiyo directly angry, and Chiyo's old woman's temper was not good. Vortex Star Feather, I'm going to kill you. Chiyo directly killed Hoshiyu, and Hai Laozong couldn't stop it, so he was afraid that his sister would suffer a loss, and Hai Laozong also immediately took action. Poor Chiyo, you don't have a puppet anymore, now you have to rely on yourself? Xingyu pulled out the Kusanagi sword, and it was incredibly fast to draw the sword, directly cutting the sand iron cage that trapped the crane. Ichigo roared, rushed out of the cage, and under the control of Star Feather, cast the tailed beast Jade. The yin-yang chakra converged into a sphere in a ratio of 2 to 8, and then hit the Sand Ninja camp in the rear. Although the ninjas in the Sand Ninja camp have retreated, if they destroy their camp, it is estimated that the shinobu will also feel a headache. The three generations of Wind Shadow watched the tailed beast Jade's face change. In the face of the tailed beast Jade's attack, the three generations of Wind Shadow would not stupidly resist. Even his strongest sand and iron defense was very difficult to resist the attack of the tailed beast Jade. As the strongest attack method of the tailed beast, the destructive power of the tailed beast Jade definitely exceeds the power of some S-level ninjutsu, and a fool will resist it head-on. Rumble. The Sand Ninja camp was directly flattened by the tailed beast Jade, and some of the materials in the camp that did not have time to take away were also destroyed by the tailed beast Jade. The eyes of the three generations of Kazekage are red. Any material is his lifeblood. After all, the Sand Ninja is not as good as the ninja of Konoha. It is relatively poor, and if the materials are destroyed, there is no money to replenish. Episode 104. Xingyu looked at his eyes red, as if he had 3 generations of wind shadows that did not share the hatred of the heavens, and he was slightly speechless. Isn't it just to bomb your camp, as for such a big hatred? If you let the 3 generations of wind shadow know what Xingyu thinks in his heart, I don't know if he will be angry and fight with Xingyu. No, now the 3 generations of wind shadow want to fight with Xingyu. Shoha, give me a better performance, or I will kill you. Xingyu said a threatening word to Shoha. In fact, Shoha is now controlled by Xingyu, and the performance depends on Xingyu's control. Go and get that 4-legged fish out for me. Hoshi Feather controlled the crane and rushed towards the pepperfish. The huge tail flicked, the pepperfish was knocked out, and the legs were broken by a tail. Hanzo looked distressed and immediately lifted the psychic technique, allowing the pepperfish to return to the psychic world. Rush Shizuru, trample them to death, don't forget that they are the sand ninja you hate the most. Hoshiyu shouted at Shotsuru. Shizuru lifted his big foot and stepped towards Chiyo and Weezo, but fortunately Weezo was fast enough to pull Chiyo away using the teleportation technique, so that he was not injured. Wind escaped Wind Blade. A Wind Blade struck towards Star Feather, and Hai Lao had the Wind Ninjutsu released towards Star Feather after dodging. The attack doesn't work. The Eternal Kaleidoscope Riding Wheel Eye opened, and a pitch-black crack appeared in front of him, just swallowing the Wind Blade. Using Huangquan Hirazaka directly sends attacks into the other space, which is also a use of Huangquan Hirazaka. In fact, in the original work, if it were not for the reason why Kagaya Atsuki was too stupid, just using Huangquan Hirazaka would have been able to be invincible. However, Hoshiyu's Yellow Spring should be different from Oriasaka's Okuzaka, and Starfia's Yellow Spring should consume less chakra and pupil power than Ryasaka. What is this trick? Hai Laozong's eyes widened, and he didn't see the Vortex Star Feather seal, and the pitch-black crack that suddenly appeared swallowed his attack in. However, it will soon be clear that this is not just a simple devouring attack. Behind Hai Laozong, the same pitch-black spatial crack appeared, and then the wind blade flew out from inside. Be careful. Umi Laozong didn't notice it, but Chiyo, who was standing next to Umi Laozong, noticed it and immediately reached out and pulled Umi Laozong. First, the wind blade passed through Hai Laozong's body and flew out from in front of him, and Hai Laozong looked down at the wound in front of him. This wound was only a few centimeters from the heart, and he almost died under the wind blade, thanks to his sister Chiyo. If Chiyo hadn't pulled him, maybe he wouldn't have died yet. It's a pity, I almost killed a shadow-level ninja. Xingyu shook his head pityingly, although Hai Laozong is only a beginner in the strength of the shadow level. But how to say that he is also a shadow-level powerhouse? If he can kill him, Xingyu will also have a sense of accomplishment. It's a pity that all this was destroyed by the old lady Chiyo, but although Umi Laozong did not die, his injuries were not light, and it is estimated that he had no combat effectiveness. Brother, are you alright? Chiyo glanced at Hashiha with hatred, and then asked Kaizo with concern. It's fine. Hai Laozong's face was a little pale, but he didn't look good at all. Be careful with his means. The 3 generations of Kazekage reminded Hanzo. At the same time, the 3 generations of Wind Shadows were also a little afraid in their hearts. If Vortex Star Feather used this move to deal with him, he might not be able to dodge it. Hanzo didn't answer, but his heart was already alert, ready to guard against a sneak attack from behind. I don't know what kind of means Vortex Star Feather is, but it is precisely because I don't know that I will be more jealous. Your eyes, kaleidoscope chakra eyes? Chiyo stared at Hashiba and asked in a lost voice. When the 3 generations of Wind Shadow and Hanzo heard this, their gazes instantly focused on Xingyu's eyes, and Hanzo's expression became cautious. Kaleidoscope Sharingan. Hanzo had also been fortunate enough to see Uchiha's Kaleidoscope Sharingan, although the lines were different, but Hanzo still recognized it. The 3 generations of Wind Shadows are relatively young and do not know the Kaleidoscope Riding Wheel Eye, but for the prestige of the Kaleidoscope Riding Wheel Eye, the 3 generations of Wind Shadow have naturally heard of it. It's not a Kaleidoscope Riding Wheel Eye, Xingyu said lightly. He is the Eternal Kaleidoscope Riding Wheel Eye, but it seems that there are a few people who know the Eternal Kaleidoscope Riding Wheel Eye. The Eternal Kaleidoscope Sharingan is also a secret in the Uchiha family, and very few people know about it. Even Tsunade does not know about the Eternal Kaleidoscope Sharingan. Retreat. Chiyo did not believe Hashiha's words. She had already determined in her heart, and immediately fled into the distance with the injured Umi Laozong. Chiyo's escape speed is fast, but there is someone faster than him, and that is Hanzo this guy. Hanzo and Chiyo both ran away, and the 3 generations of Kazekage, who looked confused, had no way to escape with them. After all, he was definitely not the opponent of Uzumaki Star Feather. What's more, in addition to the Whirlpool Star Feather, there is also a one-tailed crane, and the 3 generations of Wind Shadows can only escape together. I leaned. I wasn't serious, you just ran? Xingyu looked at the 4 shadow-level powerhouses who fled, and his heart was a little stunned. I haven't started this yet. What are you running? Don't run, dignity is lost here, you know? Don't come back and pick it up? Xingyu shouted towards the 3 generations of Wind Shadows. The 3 generations of Wind Shadows who were bent on escaping quickly disappeared, and Xingyu looked at the 3 generations of Wind Shadows who gave up their dignity and fled, and they didn't bother to chase them. If you don't go back, you won't be able to catch Mikoto's dinner. Hashiha sat on Moritsuru's head and steered Morizuru towards the Konoha camp. Let them go, because Hashiha didn't mean to kill them, and if they died, then Konoha could destroy the sand-hidden village. However, Xingyu did not want the sand-hidden village to be destroyed. For Hoshiyu, Konoha still has some external enemies, and without the threat of external enemies, there will be internal fights, and the fight will definitely affect him. The reason is simple: his strength is strong and can threaten the status of the ape flying sun, and for Hoshiyu, who has no interest in becoming a Hokage, the balance is the best. After Xingyu left, the 3 generations of wind shadows they fled for a long time before stopping, looked back, and found that Vortex Xingyu did not catch up, which was relieved. I know that the kaleidoscope chakra eye is very strong, but as for such an embarrassed escape? The 3 generations of Kazekage, questioned Chiyo and Hanzo unpleasantly. The 3rd generation of Kazekage didn't want to escape, but Chiyo and Hanzo fled. He was not the opponent of Uzumaki Hashiba, and if he really stayed, it would be Tetsuhan. If it is someone else who has the kaleidoscope riding wheel eye, we don't have to be afraid, but the strength of the whirlpool star feather you should know. If he uses the kaleidoscope riding wheel eye, our chances of winning are not great. Hanzo glanced at the 3 generations of wind shadow lightly, and then said. Chiyo nodded along. Hanzo said that was the main reason, and the person who used the kaleidoscope to write the wheel eye was Uzumaki Hashiba. Originally, the odds of winning were not high, and with a pair of kaleidoscope writing wheel eyes, the odds of winning were even lower. Of course, this kaleidoscope writing wheel eye is just what they think. After all, they don't know that there is an eternal kaleidoscope writing wheel eye above the kaleidoscope writing wheel eye. Episode 105. Hashiba returns to the Konoha camp, while Kikishiwa Shigeru is directing the ninja to rebuild the camp, and the Konoha camp is frozen and only one camp can be rebuilt. Phew, you're back. Joshinai saw Xingyu come back and let go of the worries in his heart. What about that Tanuki cat with Ikkyo? You wouldn't lose it, would you? Not seeing Shoha, Joshinai couldn't help asking. No, I didn't let it come. The Konoha ninja was very afraid of the big guy Morizuru, so Hashiha did not let Shizuru come to the camp, and let him go to sleep on his stomach in the grove not far away. Aren't you afraid that Sand Shinobu will steal the crane back? Mikoto asked, looking at Hashiha. They don't have the guts, not to mention that Morizuru is controlled by me, and if Shinobu really wants to move Shizuru, I can detect it. Hashiba replied to Mikoto. However, with the previous 3 generations of wind shadows and their frightened fleeing appearance, Xingyu did not think that they had this boldness. In the blink of an eye, a few days passed, and these days Sand Shinobu and Yushinobu chose to shrink and avoid the battle. It is clear that they have the advantage in terms of the number of ninjas, but they can only choose to avoid the battle with suffocation, and Sand Shinobu and Rain Shinobu are mainly afraid of Hashifia's large-scale ice ninjutsu. On the battlefield of Shinobu, Konoha gains the advantage, but the situation in Konoha village is still critical. On the IWA Shinobu battlefield, because of the Sarutobi Hinata and Shimura Danzo, although they did not gain an advantage, they can also be said to be a balance of power. It's just that Konoha's current opponent also has a mist-hidden village, and Konoha is now losing ground on the Mist Ninja battlefield, and even the ninjas of the mist-hidden village have hit the hinterland of the Fire Country. The daimyo of the Fire Nation panicked, and sent a letter to the ape flying sun to cut accountability. But what is the use of accountability? The daimyo cannot help anything except provide help in terms of money and materials. The daimyo of the Fire Nation has an army, but it is only an army of ordinary people, and it is to deliver food in the face of ninjas. Hashiba is now on his way to the battlefield of Konoha and Mist Shinobu, along with Hashiba, of course, by Kushina, Mikoto, and Konan. The order of the 3rd generation of Hokage broke the rules to promote Hashiha to the upper ninja, and let him go to the battlefield of the Mist Ninja. Hashiha had no problem with the order of the 3 generations of Hokage. After all, he also had a mission to help Konoha village win the Second Ninja World War. So you definitely can't let Konoha village lose. The mist-hidden village is now almost at the door of Konoha's house. Even if the 3 generations of Hokage don't transfer him to the Mist Shinobi battlefield, Hashiha will find a way to deal with the mist-hidden village. Going to the Mist Shinobi battlefield, Xingyu rode on a mount, and the mount was naturally a crane. After we leave, will Konoha still be the opponent of Shinobu and Shinobu you? Mikoto asked to Hashiha. Well, I can't say it well, but Konoha won't be defeated at least. Xingyu also felt at this time that the Konoha troops led by Kiki Shuamao might not be the opponents of Shinobu and Yushinobu. Before leaving, he should give Sand Shinobu and Yushinobu a ruthless blow. Forget it, if Chimu Shuamao they are really invincible, it's a big deal for him to kill back. For now, it's better to solve the Fog Ninja first, because the Fog Ninja is really about to hit the doorstep of Konoha village, otherwise the ape flying sun will not be in a hurry to transfer him over. Xingyu, can you make this big tanuki run slower and steadily? I feel like I'm about to faint. Joshinai sat on Shoha's head and said shakily, bear with me for a while, it won't be long before it arrives. Xingyu said to Joshinai. 2 hours later, Hashiha and they finally arrived at the battlefield of Konoha and Kiri Shinobu, and the Konoha ninja defended to the death, but still could not stop the attack of Kiri Shinobu. The 3 generations of Water Shadow personally shot and killed on the battlefield, and no one could stop the 3 generations of Water Shadow at all. As for Mito Minyan and Koharu, who were advisors to the Konoha elder group, the 2 of them were directly shrunk behind, which was really a bit humiliating. They are also the elders of the great shinobi village. How come these 2 guys are so much worse than Chiyo and Kairatsu? Hoshiyu saw Mito Minyan and Koharu hiding behind from afar, and couldn't help but feel a little contempt. However, it seems that it is useless for them to go up. The 2 of them are at most the strength of the quasi-shadow, plus they do not move for a long time, and the combat effectiveness is a little stronger than the elite Sharingan. Shoha, it's time for you to play, release me a tailed beast Jade. The 3 jade riding wheel eyes in Shoha's eyes slowly turned, and the chakra of the yin and yang attributes converged into a chakra sphere, which looked similar to the spiral pill. However, compared with the power and the spiral pill, it is simply 1 by 1. The tailed beast Jade thought about the fog ninja in the rear. Because there was no defense, naturally there was no one to block this tailed beast Jade. Rumble. A tailed beast Jade, at least hundreds of ninjas, although the tailed beast Jade is a little weak, but after all, it is still a tailed beast Jade. It's a pity that the stations are too scattered. If they all stand together, a tailed beast Jade can send Mist Shinobu home. Xingyu shook his head with a pity on his face. After a shot of tailed beast Jade, it can't be hidden. Originally Shizuru's body size is very large. If it weren't for the fog ninja's attention focused on the Konoha ninja, he really couldn't sneak attack. Bastard. The 3rd generation of Mizukage cursed angrily, and then abandoned the Konoha elite Kami Shinobu who was about to be killed in front of him, and angrily killed in the direction of Moritsuru. The other Mist Shinobi also rushed over with red eyes. They started a battle with Konoha in front, and as a result, they were stabbed in the back. How could they not be angry? And among the ninjas who were killed by the tailed beast Jade just now, there are their relatives and friends. Even if it is for revenge, they will die with that monster. Kiri Shinobu turned around and killed Ichigo Moritsuru, and Konoha's ninja suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. So many ninjas? No wonder Mito Monitis can't stand it. Xingyu looked at the Mist Shinobi who rushed over, and initially estimated that there were probably 2 or 3,000 ninjas, and they were also bombarded by the tailed beast Jade to kill hundreds of people. Jioshina and Mikoto looked at the black-pressed crowd, their eyes jumped, and their eyes looked at Hoshiyu and asked, can it really be dealt with? What are you guys worried about? Look how quiet Xiaonan is. I think you should learn from Xiaonan. I was so scared that I couldn't speak. Xiaonan blushed and whispered, Iceman's art. Hoshiyu created a huge ice giant with cold ice, and Susanoo, who was close to the height of the complete body, and his huge body was taller than that of Morozuru, who barely reached the waist of the ice giant. Did you see this, Iceman? Feel safe now. Xingyu said with a smile. This is the ice ninjutsu that Xingyu studied not long ago, and it is a ninjutsu created based on Mu Duan's wooden art. This is not just Bing Duan, but the ninjutsu created after the fusion of Bing Dun and Yang Duan, and this ice giant has been given life by Yang Duan. This is also ice ninjutsu? Jioshina, Mikoto, and Conan's eyes widened at the huge ice giant in front of them. Even Jioshina and Mikoto, who had seen the complete body of Susanoo, were dumbfounded. Although it is indeed an ice escape, it is no longer an ordinary ice escape, just like the original Hokage's Mu Duan. Xingyu said to them. Episode 106. In front of Xingyu, the Mist Shinobu who had originally killed this side suddenly stopped, and even the 3 generations of Water Shadow stopped. Originally, the size of the Shoha was scary enough for them, but now that this ice giant is bigger, they are a little stunned. Sure enough, Xingyu guessed that they would definitely be instigated, and sure enough, it didn't surprise him. If I were to face this Iceman, I would have prodded. Jioshina glanced at Xingyu and said, Lord Mizukage, what should I do? Kiri Shinobu, who was standing beside the 3rd generation of Water Shadow, asked the 3rd generation Water Shadow. I was carried away by hatred before, but now after seeing this huge ice giant, my mind suddenly cleared up. After waking up, you don't know what to do, continue to rush up? They were a little scared in their hearts. This huge ice giant is afraid that he can trample them to death by raising his foot. What are you afraid of? Maybe you have a false appearance, and use ninjutsu attacks together. The 3 generations of Water Shadows quickly sealed, and the speed of printing was very fast, at least 5 seals per second. A water dragon shot towards the ice giant, followed by other Mist Shinobi using ninjutsu, and the scene was instantly spectacular. The overwhelming water rushed towards this side. Looking at this somewhat frightening momentum, Kushina and Mikoto were nervous, and Xiaonan was buried in Xingyu's arms in fear. Xingyu was very calm. He knew best the ninjutsu he released, and the entire body of the ice giant was made of cold ice. It is harder than steel. Even S-class ninjutsu is difficult to break the defense, not to mention that even if it is damaged, the ice giant will repair it, but the repair requires chakra, which consumes the star feather. This doesn't matter. There are enough chakras of star feather, and a little consumption star feather doesn't care at all. The water ninjutsu hit the ice giant's body, and the impact force caused a small crack on the surface, but the crack disappeared in the blink of an eye. After the Mist Shinobu finished attacking, the ice giant was not damaged in the slightest, and was walking towards the Mist Shinobu. Between steps, the earth could not withstand the weight of the ice giant and trembled, and deep footprints appeared on the earth. Because of the huge body, it seems that the movement is very slow, but in fact, the movement is very fast, and it comes to the Mist Ninja in a few breaths. Raising his big foot and stepping on them, the fast-reacting Mist Shinobu can also use the teleportation technique to dodge, and the slow one will be buried directly on the soles of the ice giant's feet. Damn, what kind of monster is this? The face of the third generation of Water Shadow is very ugly, and Ichigo Shizuru Water Shadow knows, but he does not know this ice giant. Is this really ninjutsu that has been unleashed? The 3 generations of Water Shadows couldn't believe it, and they didn't want to believe this fact. Lord Mizukage, hurry up and dodge, the ground under your feet is freezing. An elite shinobu reminded the 3rd generation of Water Shadows, causing the 3 generations of Water Shadows to come to their senses and immediately look down at the ground. I saw a layer of frost appear on the ground, and it was spreading, and the speed of spread was not slow. This can be regarded as an ice giant's attack effect, with the ability to freeze, and even as long as you get close to the ice giant, you may be frozen into a popsicle. This star feather can be controlled, and if he stands on the body of the ice giant, he will definitely not be affected in any way. The ice giant suddenly roared, and cold chi was released from his body, just like Star Feather releasing the Ice Age. Rewind. The 3rd generation of Water Shadow couldn't care so much, and quickly used the teleportation technique to escape. As for the other Mist Ninja, now he couldn't care so much, he could only resign himself to fate. Because some Mist Shinobi had some distance from the ice giant, they ran away, but some Mist Shinobi did not escape and were frozen into ice sculptures by the cold. Immediately after the ice giant stomped his foot, the frozen earth shattered, including the fog ninja that was frozen into an ice sculpture, and shattered with it. The 3 generations of Water Shadows who escaped in the distance were blinded, and the dead Mist Shinobi this time, plus the ninja who was bombarded by the tailed beast Jade before, added up to close to 1,000. The ninjas in the entire Mist Hidden Village added up, barely 10,000 ninjas, most of them were shinobi, and this time they lost 1/10 of the ninjas. This is the heaviest loss in the history of Wuin Village, and he will also become the most humiliating Water Shadow in Wuin Village. The Book of Seals of Wuin Village was lost, and Wuin Village suffered heavy losses under his leadership, and it is estimated that the villagers of Wuin Village will let him die to apologize. Looking at the ice giant in the distance, in the end, the 3 generations of Water Shadows did not have the courage to kill it, gritting their teeth and retreating with the rest of the fog ninja. Actually retreated. Mikoto looked at the retreating Kiri Shinobu and was slightly stunned. Hoshiyu raised his hand and flicked it lightly on Mikoto's forehead, and then said to Mikoto, "Isn't it normal to retreat? It's not waiting for death to stay. It's not that your strength is too perverted." Mikoto rubbed the place where Hoshiyu played, and then said angrily, "No hands and feet allowed." Joshinai snorted and looked at Xingyu and said, Hoshi Feather controlled the Morizuru and ran in the direction where the Konoha ninja was, and as for the Iceman created using the ice done before, Hoshiyu ignored it. Without the chakra of the Star Feather, the Iceman has no movement and turns into a dead thing, which is a 100-meter tall ice sculpture. Moritsuru quickly approached the Konoha ninja, and looking at Ikkyo Morizuru, the ninja of Konoha was very panicked. "It should be our own people. You see the person above the head of this monster, wearing the forehead guard of our Konoha village, and just attacked the Kiri Shinobu." One of them, Konoha Kami Shinobu, said, "How about you go over and ask?" Another shinobu standing next to him said. That Konoha shinobu immediately shook his head when he heard this. What kind of joke? He didn't dare to go over and ask. This huge monster could trample him to death with one kick. Hoshiyu held Konan, and jumped down from the top of Ichigo Moritsuru's head. "Xingyu, catch me." When Xingyu was about to take Xiaonan's hand and walk, he heard Joshinai shout, and then Joshinai jumped down towards Xingyu's position, subconsciously stretched out his hand and caught Joshinai. Looking at the Star Feather holding herself, Joshinai grinned. "Xingyu, don't let me fall." Hashiwa raised his head when he heard this, looked at Mikoto, who jumped down like Joshinai, put down Joshinai a little speechlessly, and then caught Mikoto. "I said you have to let me catch you? What if I can't catch it?" Xingyu couldn't help but say, "Hashiyu, when you speak, can you let Mikoto go first? You are still holding her now. Are you addicted?" Joshinai was a little angry, looking at Xingyu like an angry little lion. Mikoto's face turned red when she heard this, but she really didn't want to leave, and she felt very comfortable being held by Hoshiyu like this. Hashiha looked at Joshinai, who was about to get angry, coughed lightly, and then let Mikoto go. "Let's go, they seem to be greeting us." Hashiha's gaze looked at the Konoha ninja not far away. "You see their vigilant looks, where they seem to be greeting us." Joshinai couldn't help but complain and said, Episode 107, Hoshiyu, and they came here to support, and they were not greeted, but the wary gaze of Konoha ninjas. After all, the ninjas of Konoha are still not sure whether they are enemies or friends. They don't know Hashiba, but they don't know, someone does. Mito Menyen and Sleeping Koharu came over. Mito Menyen looked at Hoshiyu and asked lightly, Are you Uzumaki Hashiyu? Hashiha glanced at Mito Minyen and Koharu, and it was obvious that the two of them were a little arrogant, as if they looked down on him. Mito Minyen was secretly angry in his heart, and he was a little dissatisfied with the performance of Uzumaki Starfeather. They were the elders of Konoha village, so they should at least be respectful in the face of them. However, they wanted Xingyu to be respectful to them. It was too much to think about, and with the proud look on their faces, Xingyu actually didn't bother to talk to them. This kind of goods, if not a disciple of the second generation Hokage, would definitely not be an elder of Konoha village. The third generation asked me to support you, but you are really disappointing. You were actually beaten into this ghost by the Misty Ninja. Because Xingyu didn't like them, he said sarcastically. Vortex Starfeather, what did you say? Don't think that you can be arrogant with a little strength. We are the elders of Konoha village. Do you know what the crime of disrespecting the elders is? Huh, trash. Xingyu sneered and said lightly. Mito Minyen and Koharu's faces turned blue and white, and the surrounding Konoha ninjas watched this scene, and their hearts were dark. In fact, the ninja of Konoha have long been very dissatisfied with the two of them, only know that they are blindly commanding, and they are useless if they don't make a move. They were beaten so badly by Kiri Shinobu, among which there was credit for Mito Minyen and Koharu and the two of them. Prepare me a place to rest. Hashiha didn't look at the two of them, and then said to the other ninja standing next to him. Although Xingyu is young, no one dares to refute when he speaks. As for the reason, just look at the Ichigo Morizuru over there. Vortex Starfeather, you. Shut up, and then dare to make a blind argument and kill you directly. Xingyu glanced at Mito Minyen coldly, making him feel what is called the coldness from the soul. Although I am here to support you, I hate being pointed at the most, so you don't want to order me. Otherwise don't blame me for doing something. Tell them in advance first. Hashiha doesn't want to accept their orders. He naturally hates other people's discipline orders. Even the third generation of Hokage can't order him. After speaking, Hashiha left with Kushina, Mikoto, and Konan, and did not go to see the ugly old faces of Mito Minyen and Koharu. As soon as I came, I put on a face and really thought I was something. Jyoshine whispered. Jyoshine is very dissatisfied with Mito Minyen and Koharu and the two of them, and the high-minded appearance they showed as soon as they met just now is very disgusting. If you have high strength, the key is that you don't have fart strength, and you actually show that you are very awesome. I really thought that he was the elder of Konoha village, and I thought that Hoshiyu would be respectful to him. If Mito Minyen and Koharu behaved a little better, Hashiha would not have given them face. However, they are probably used to being high, so they look at Xingyu with that high posture. Xingyu will not get used to them. He is not an ape flying sun. Soon, Xingyu came to the place arranged for him to live. Of course, it was just a simple tent. After all, this condition was on the battlefield. Even because the Konoha ninja suffered defeats and retreated one after another, the tents were almost lost when retreating, and it was already good to have a tent. With the current situation of the fog ninja, there should be no attack in a short time. Mikoto spoke. At this time, it is not waiting for the attack of the fog ninja, but counterattacking the fog ninja. Xingyu said. He wanted to quickly solve the fog ninja. After all, the Second Ninja World War in the original work, the fog ninja honestly did not move. Now that he has a mission to help Konoha village win the Second Ninja World War, the mist-hidden village runs out to add problems to him. How can Hashiha let them go? Xingyu, you are not the commander of the battlefield, and you have no right to decide. Mikoto said to Hashiha. Who said I need their help? Do you think I need help from others to deal with Mist Shinobu? The fog is just enduring, and it can be extinguished with a snap of your fingers. What you said made me want to hit you. Jyoshine couldn't get used to Xingyu pretending to be forced, and said with a powder fist, hit me? Jyoshine, you are actually so self-sufficient. Have you ever beaten me? Hoshiyu glanced at Jyoshine, then asked her, do you still want to fight back? Jyoshine looked at Xingyu with wide eyes. You're not talking nonsense. You want to hit me? I will definitely fight back. Then you will definitely beat you hiding in the corner and crying. Jyoshine, do you want to try? Xingyu looked at Jyoshine with a smile. Mikoto and Konan, too, couldn't help but laugh out loud, making Jyoshine's face darken, and then grabbed Hoshiyu's arm and bit it down. After Jyoshine let go, Xingyu looked at the saliva on his arm and rubbed on Jyoshine's clothes with a look of disgust. Jyoshine chased Xingyu with his fist, and after a long time, he stopped when he felt tired, but he still stared at Xingyu unwillingly. Ahem, you guys stay here first, I'll go clean up the fog. Xingyu coughed lightly, and then used the teleportation technique to leave. After Hoshiyu left, Jyoshine and Mikoto looked at each other, and then said in unison, he won't really clean up the fog, right? Will brother Xingyu be in danger? Xiaonan asked worriedly. Don't worry about the danger, Xingyu has space ninjutsu. Even if you are not an opponent, you can leave. Mikoto said to worried Konan. I don't think he's not an opponent. I think it's better to mourn Kiri Shinobu for a while. Jyoshine said. After Xingyu left, he really killed Seong Mist Shinobu, and he still committed suicide to Seong Mist Shinobu alone, and even Ichigo Moritsuru did not take it with him. Since he came to the Mist Ninja battlefield, naturally, he would not wait for Mist Ninja to fight, and he would definitely take the initiative to attack. As for why he was alone, it was not that Hashiha wanted to be a hero, but that he had just offended Mito Menyen and Koharu. Could he expect them to help? However, even if they really attack with the Konoha ninja, it will only get in the way and affect his performance. Xingyu went straight to the Mist Ninja camp, and there was no hiding at all, and it didn't make sense for Star Feather to sneak up on something. Anyway, it can't be his opponent, just attack openly, but a sneaky attack is a bit humiliating. Of course, this is completely because Xingyu's strength is enough to crush Mist Shinobu, if not Mist Shinobu's opponent. Well, if it wasn't for the opponent, Xingyu wouldn't run alone to deal with Mist Shinobu. After all, Xingyu is not stupid. Episode 108. Star Feather was not hidden, so Mist Shinobu, who was in charge of reconnaissance, naturally found Star Feather, especially when he saw the Konoha protector on Star Feather's forehead. Konoha's ninja, still a ghost, how could he appear here? One of them, Kiri Shinobu, who was in charge of the investigation, frowned, looking puzzled. Let's arrest him first. Another companion was about to make a move, but was stopped. Wait a minute, this little ghost suddenly appeared here is a little suspicious. Be careful if there is any conspiracy. Although I'm not old, but you call me a little ghost, which makes me very unhappy. Let's say, how to die. Hoshiyu suddenly appeared in front of the two of them, Kusanagi sword resting on one of the Kirito's necks. The sharp blade had already cut through his skin. How did you get here? The two Mist Shinobu widened their eyes, and when they looked at it just now, Xingyu was 100 meters away from them, and as a result, it appeared in front of them in the blink of an eye. Wrong answer. Xingyu swung his sword and cut off the heads of the two Mist Shinobi, shook off the blood stained on Kusanagi's sword, and then continued to walk towards the Mist Ninja camp. Soon, the 3 generations of Mizukage in the Mist Ninja camp received news that a Konoha ninja had killed their camp. The 3rd generation of Mizukage couldn't help but frown. A Konoha ninja killed their camp? Did he mishear or report wrong? Lord Mizukage, the other party is a small ghost, but his strength is very strong, and many companions have died under his sword, and even the ninja of the Kagaya clan is not an opponent. Then I'll take a look. 3 generations of water shadows followed this ninja, ready to see who this little devil who dared to break into their camp was, and actually had such great boldness. The 3rd generation of water shadows finally saw Xingyu, but after seeing Xingyu, his face changed, because there were already more than a dozen corpses lying beside Xingyu. Many misty ninja gathered around, but looking at Xingyu, they were a little afraid to make a move, because those who dared to do it had already become corpses lying on the ground, including an upper ninja. They were all killed by Xingyu's sword, and even Shangnan didn't survive a sword, which is why they seemed to be provoked. This is obviously who is on who dies. Obviously they don't want to die, so they don't want to do it. It is clear that in the camp of the Mist Shinobu, there are Mist Shinobi all around, and Xingyu is only himself, but the Mist Shinobu has some rat throwers, which looks a little ridiculous. 3 generations of water shadows, we met again. After Xingyu saw the 3 generations of water shadows, he said hello to the 3 generations of water shadows. The 3rd generation of water shadows frowned when they heard this, and then asked Xingyu, have we met before? Of course, maybe the 3 generations of water shadow don't know me, but Water Shadow should know this mask. Xingyu suddenly took out a mask in the shape of a 3-hooked jade reincarnation eye, and after Xingyu took out this mask, the 3 generations of water shadows were stunned, and some fog ninja were also stunned. Do you know each other now? Xingyu asked with a smile. You are the same person who invaded our village and stole our Book of Mist Ninja seal? The 3 generations of water shadows stared at Xingyu angrily. 3 generations of water shadows, it's not right for you to say so. How can you say that it was stolen? I clearly took the sealed book in front of you. So, the Book of Seals of our Mist Ninja village is in your hands? The eyes of the 3 generations of Shueing were full of killing intent. That's right, but the ninjutsu of your Mist Ninja village is also too spicy chicken. It's really wasted my expectations. And there is no ninjutsu that I can see, Xingyu said with a disappointed look. This is not that Xingyu deliberately wants to fight the Mist Shinobi. What Xingyu said is the truth. In fact, the Book of Seals in the Mist Ninja village really disappointed Xingyu. The ninjutsu recorded above, Hoshiyu really does not have a single one to read, and it is completely incomparable to the Book of Seals in Konoha village. Well, if you have a chance, go and take a look at Konoha's Book of Seals, which contains a lot of forbidden arts, as well as forbidden arts that Hashiha also wants to learn, such as soil rebirth. This ninjutsu is very interesting even by Hashiyu, and above the Book of Seals, there should be other ninjutsu developed by the 2nd generation Hokage Senjutsu. I won't mention the character of Senjutsu, but I have to say that he is indeed a genius, a master of ninjutsu development. Kill him and recapture the Book of Seals in our Mist Hidden village. The 3rd generation of Shueing said coldly. Subsequently, the 3 generations of Water Shadow took the lead and killed Xingyu with Ku Wuxiang. Don't you see their end? You really dare to make a move with me. Xingyu swung his sword instantly, and no one saw the speed at which Xingyu swung his sword. This knife is almost to the extreme, even the 3 generations of Water Shadow did not see it, but with the sense of crisis in their hearts, the 3 generations of Water Shadow used the teleportation technique in time to dodge. However, even if the speed of the 3 generations of Water Shadows is fast enough, it is still inevitable to be injured, and there is only one section of the kunai in his hand, and a narrow wound appears in front of him. Count you to hide fast, otherwise, a knife will cut you in two. Xingyu withdrew the knife and looked at the 3 generations of Water Shadows faintly. I was careless just now. The 3 generations of Water Shadow became serious, perhaps because of Xingyu's age. They despised him, and it was precisely because of the contempt that he would be slashed with a knife. However, even if the 3 generations of Water Shadow pay attention to it, they may not be able to dodge Xingyu's knife to the extreme. After all, the 3rd generation of Water Shadow is good at ninjutsu, the art of the Great Waterfall. The art of the Great Waterfall. The 2 Great Waterfall techniques were released by Star Feather and the 3 generations of Water Shadow, but the momentum of the 2 ninjutsu released was not at the same level at all. If the 3 generations of Water Shadows are small waves, then the Water Escape and Waterfall technique released by the Star Feather is a monstrous wave. The 2 ninjutsu collided, and in an instant the Great Waterfall art released by the 3 generations of Water Shadow was scattered, and then the huge wave hit the 3rd generation Water Shadow, including other fog ninja. They are all under the shroud of this terrifying water escape, because the shrouded range of this water escape is indeed a bit large. In the end, dozens of Mist Shinobi combined with 3 generations of Wind Shadow to be able to block Xingyu's ninjutsu. Damn, why does he have such great strength as a ghost? The 3rd generation of Water Shadow couldn't help but scold secretly. When the 3 generations of Water Shadow secretly cursed, Xingyu had already rushed towards Mist Shinobu, and one person rushed towards more than 2,000 Mist Shinobi, raised his fist and hit the body of a Misty Ninja. His chest collapsed, his eyes widened, and he flew out more than 10 meters, and after smashing a few Misty Ninja, he lost his breath. Sideways to grab the kunai who was throwing it at him, Hashiwa returned it directly to the Misty Ninja, and the kunai hole pierced his neck, killing a ninja behind him. You guys are still too weak. I hope to let me improve my combat experience. Don't let me down too much. The huge chakra on Xingyu's body burst out, blowing out the dozen or so Mist Shinobi who surrounded him. Strange, monster? A Misty Murakami swallowed a mouthful of spit. The pressure brought by the terrifying chakra almost made him collapse. Can people really have so many chakras? And obviously not old. Why is the strength so strong? There is no harm without comparison. Holding the Star Feather to compare yourself, ashamed to almost want to commit suicide. Episode 109. Star Feather leaned close to the terrifying chakra that erupted, so that Mist Shinobu did not dare to get close at all, and the terrifying chakra let them see what is called chakra that surpasses the tailed beast. How can there be such a terrifying chakra? The expression of the 3 generations of Water Shadows is ugly, and Chakra's coercion makes him feel a little difficult to breathe. Because I'm a member of the Uzumaki clan, isn't it normal to have a huge chakra? Xingyu said lightly. After Xingyu finished speaking, they noticed that Xingyu's red hair, it should be right to be a person from the Vortex clan, but where did the other party's chakra eye come from? Looking at the 3-hooked jade riding wheel eyes that opened in Xingyu's eyes, the heart of the 3 generations of Water Shadows was very confused. The extermination of the former Vortex clan has something to do with your Mist Shinobi, right? Xingyu looked at the 3 generations of Water Shadows expressionlessly. The 3 generations of Water Shadow suddenly felt in their hearts, yes, the extermination of the Vortex clan was really done by their fog ninja. Of course, there was Yunin village, and the purpose was naturally the sealing technique of the Vortex clan. It is a pity that they did not get the sealing technique of the Vortex clan, because the sealing technique was destroyed by the patriarch of the Vortex clan in despair. Let's take it as my reckoning with you this time. The Star Feather turned into an afterimage and disappeared, and then a Misty Ninja felt a pain in his heart, looked down at the kunai who pierced his heart, and closed his eyes unwillingly. Fire escape, how dragon fire art. Kill a Mist Shinobi in front of him, then raise his leg to sweep away the ninja who wants to sneak up on him, and then quickly seal it with one hand. A fire dragon directly devoured more than a dozen ninjas, thick smoke spread out, and an unpleasant burning aura came. Many ninjas couldn't help but vomit out after smelling this burning breath. One punch and one kick can kill someone, and if you perform a ninjutsu, the dead people are not too. Looking at the Star Feather who killed all sides, the 3 generations of Water Shadows knew that it was not okay. If it went on like this, even if there were no more fog ninja, it would not be enough to kill. Except for the upper ninja, the rest of the ninjas retreat. The 3rd generation of Mizukage ordered. The ninjas under the upper ninja all retreated, and staying here would not help much, and it would even hinder the chaos. After receiving the order, those fog ninja immediately evacuated quickly. In fact, they had long wanted to evacuate, but without the order of the 3 generations of Water Shadows, they did not dare to go. After they withdrew, there were only 100 ninjas left in front of them, but the weakest of these ninjas were all upper ninjas, the real elite power of the Mist Ninja village. It's worthy of the power of the great Shinobi village. Xingyu looked at them and couldn't help but say. The former Uzumaki clan was also the top clan in the ninja world, but there were no more than 200 ninjas in the clan, and there were only a dozen upper ninjas. And the upper ninja of the Fog Ninja Village is 10 times that of the Whirlpool clan, and this is not all the upper ninja of the Fog Ninja Village. There should be a lot of upper ninja left in the Mist Ninja Village. Sure enough, compared with the Great Ninja Village, a family is still far behind, otherwise the Uzumaki clan would not be exterminated. But unfortunately, you will all die today. The killing intent on Xingyu's body enveloped them, and there were not a few ninjas he killed, and the murderous aura on his body was also very strong. Shrouded in killing intent, they felt that their souls were frozen, and some ninjas with poor psychological quality had the idea of self-defeat. Hands on. The 3 generations of water shadows know that they can't drag it on. If they drag it on, this killing intent can erode them. Maybe they won't need to make a move, they will lose in their own hands. Be careful, be sure to avoid his eyes, and be careful of the illusion of riding chakra. 3 generations of water shadows reminded, since you know that the other party has a chakra eye, you must take precautions. In addition to the kaleidoscope, the most famous thing about the chakra eye is illusion. Think it's useful to be careful? Illusion mirror. Xingyu smiled coldly, and then cast an illusion that can control the other party's 5 senses, so let you taste the fear of the 5 senses being dominated. Standing still, Xingyu indifferently looked at the many misty hidden Murakami shinobu who killed each other, and even the 3 generations of water shadows were shooting at their companions. Star Feather dominates their 5 senses, making them think of their companions as him. The Kurama clan's blood succession limit is really terrifying, even if it is not as good as the blue slashing knife mirror in the God of Death, but it is not far behind. However, the consumption of chakra is really much, dominating 100 upper shinobi, including the 5 senses of the shadow level of the 3rd generation of water shadow, and the chakra consumed by Star Feather is enough to cast 10 wind escape spiral shurikens. Moreover, Xingyu can't dominate their 5 senses all the time. It is estimated that in 10 minutes at most, they will be able to recover, which is why they are not as good as the Londai slashing sword mirror flower water moon. 10 minutes later, the illusion was automatically broken, and it was only then that Mist Shinobu fully recognized their tragic situation. With one illusion, Xingyu caused more than half of the 100 Shangnan to die, and most of them died at the hands of the 3 generations of water shadows. A large part of the rest are elite shinobi, and their strength is strong, so they can survive the cannibalism just now. How so? The 3 generations of water shadows looked at the fallen corpses around them very confused. It was clear that they were fighting with the vortex Star Feather just now, but in the blink of an eye, they fell to the ground. This question was destined to be unanswered, and the other Mist Shinobi were in a state of confusion like the 3 generations of Water Shadow, and Xingyu was obviously impossible to tell him, so the 3 generations of Water Shadow were destined to be unable to know. Susanoo. The pitch-black Susanoo appeared, but the second form of Susanoo was covered with meridians and flesh and blood on the basis of the skeleton form, without armor and legs. This form of Susanoo consumes relatively little, and even Uchiha often uses this form of Susanoo, especially when it comes to abusing vegetables. Susanoo held Chakra's sword, and then slashed forward, cracking a huge crack in the earth. Several Shunrin were accidentally beheaded, and then they were directly gone, and even the corpses did not know where to go. Damn kaleidoscope chakra eyes. The 3 generations of water shadows looked at the eternal kaleidoscope riding wheel eyes in Xingyu's eyes, with blood red. The 2 eyes have become so red. Do you also want to write the chakra eye? Hashiha stood in the midst of Susanoo and asked mockingly, Water Dragon Technique. The 3 generations of Water Shadow angrily sealed their hands and cast the Water Dragon Bullet Technique, and the B-level ninjutsu was able to exert the power of A-level ninjutsu in the hands of the 3rd generation of Water Shadow. Xingyu's current form of Susanoo is relatively fragile, and the defense power is actually very average, but even so, it is not a Water Dragon technique that can break the defense in the 3rd generation of Water Shadow area. The Water Dragon that hit Susanoo collapsed instantly, without causing the slightest damage to Susanoo. 3 generations of Water Shadows, is your attack only to this extent? As far as you are also worthy of being a 3rd generation Water Shadow, I think you might as well abdicate the throne. Xingyu said lightly, attack me together. The 3rd generation of Mizukage took a deep breath, and then shouted to the other elites, not affected by Hashiyu's words. As a shadow of a village, how could his mentality be affected by a few words? Episode 110. The upper ninja of the Mist Shinobi village, although they were terrified in their hearts in the face of Susanoo of Hashiha, still chose to attack after the 3 generations of Mizukage gave the order to attack. I don't believe that there are so many of them, and I can't break Susanoo. More than 40 upper shinobi, plus 3 generations of Mizukage cast ninjutsu attacks together. It was clear that Susanoo in this state could not defend against their attacks. But Hashiha won't just use this form of Susanoo to deal with it. Consuming chakra and pupil power, Susanoo instantly put on a layer of Raven Tengu armor, and his momentum became even more amazing, and even his size was a little taller. However, this is not the end. Susanoo appears with legs and wings behind his back, becoming a real samurai. Susanoo, who is completely full, looks as if he is facing a mountain, and the height is no less than that of ordinary small mountains. As for the destructive power, needless to say about this body type, the destructive power must be unimaginably strong. Anyway, the 3 generations of water shadows cannot imagine the destructive power of Susanoo now. 3 generations of water shadows, if I go down with this knife, you will all die, believe it or not. Hoshiyu asked towards the 3 generations of water shadows. So I give you a chance to escape, as for whether you can run away, it depends on your own ability. After Xingyu finished speaking, the pitch-black chakra Tai Dao suddenly burned with black flames, which was Amaterasu black flame. With the 2 pupil techniques of Amaterasu and Tomei, Hoshiha can now attach Amaterasu flames to Susanoo's weapons. Feeling the terrifying momentum, the 3 generations of water shadows felt the real death crisis, and without the slightest hesitation, directly shouted retreat. Now is not the time to be stubborn, even if you don't care about your own life. You have to care about the situation in Muin Village. As a shadow of a village, if he really died, Mist Shinobi Village would definitely be in chaos. The Shuei Wuyue family and the Kagaya family were originally restless. It was good to have him suppressing. If it were not for his suppression, I am afraid that they would have rebelled long ago. The 3 generations of Water Shadow fled with a group of elites from the mist-hidden village, and when they fled, Xingyu mercilessly slashed down. The earth shook, and the earth tore open a huge opening, as if it were the mouth of a giant beast, and on the cut earth, there was still black Amaterasu burning with black flames. As for the 3 generations of Water Shadow and the remaining 40-odd elite shinobi, all of them turned into ashes under this sword, and there was not even a whole corpse left. Don't say I didn't give you a chance, you didn't hide. Xingyu looked into the distance faintly. In fact, the 3rd generation of Mizukage had just dodged the knife that Hoshiha Susanoo had chopped, but he had not dodged Amaterasu's black flame. The 3 generations of water shadows were burned to death by Amaterasu, and finally burned the figure with a head and a face, which is really gratifying. Sure enough, Amaterasu can only bloom in his hands. This knife spread out a long distance, and the retreating fog ninja of the previous 3 generations of water shadows was also affected, and the deaths and injuries were heavy. With the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan, Xingyu can see far away, and can see the misty ninja fleeing in a hurry. The 3 generations of water shadow brought out more than 3,000 mist shinobi, and more than half of them had died in battle. Most of them had died under Xingyu's hands, including the 3 generations of water shadow, as well as the elite ninjas he brought, all died at the hands of Xingyu, and this time the mist-hidden village suffered heavy losses. In the Second Ninja World War, the mist-hidden village no longer had the ability to participate, and the death of a 3rd-generation water shadow alone was enough to make the mist-hidden village scorched. However, these have nothing to do with Xingyu, and Xingyu will not pay attention to so much, killing so many ninjas, and Xingyu does not have a trace of guilt, because basically none of the ninjas are innocent. Of course, this also includes him. If Xingyu is killed one day, no one will feel that he is innocent. But that day will never come, no one will be able to kill him, not now, and not in the future. Instead of chasing and killing the fleeing mist shinobu, Hoshiha lifted Susanoo, looked at the still burning Amaterasu, and directly used the extra soil life to control the extinguishing it. Turning to leave, Xingyu was gone, but there was an extra scar on this land that could not be healed, and this cracked earth did not know how many corpses were buried. Back at the Konoha camp, the ninjas in the Konoha camp were a little restless at this time, and Hoshiha went to attack the mist shinobi, although they didn't know, but this movement was too big. They can hear movement even after a long distance. Finally come back, if you don't come back, we're going to find you. Kushina, Mikoto, and Konan finally breathed a sigh of relief when they saw Hoshiha return, knowing that Xingyu is strong, but they are still inevitably worried in their hearts. Only when they really see that Xingyu is safe can they let go of their hearts. The movement just now is so big, you can hear it in the Konoha camp. Mikoto said. By the way, how is Kiri Shinobu now? Jyoshinai asked towards Hoshiyu. The fog ninja has been solved, and now the remaining mist ninja is probably fleeing back to the misty hidden village, and they should not dare to step into the realm of the country of fire in the future, Xingyu said with a faint smile. This time is enough to leave an indelible mark on their hearts. It is estimated that they will not dare to step into the land of fire again in their lives, and this is their nightmare. Solved? Mikoto and Jyoshina both looked at Hoshiyu in amazement, originally thinking that Hoshiyu just killed some mist shinobu, but did not expect Hoshiha to say that it was solved. Yes, the 3 generations of water shadow are dead, isn't this solved? As soon as the 3 generations of water shadow died, the mist-hidden village was already overwhelmed, let alone attacking Konoha again. As for the ninja of the mist-hidden village, will they think of avenging the 3 generations of Mizukage? Xingyu felt that it was unlikely. It's not that Wuyu doesn't want to, but they don't dare. Even if they really dare to come, it's a big deal that Xingyu directly started to kill, and even really annoyed Xingyu, directly killed Wuyin Village, and destroyed Wuyin Village. Jyoshina and Mikoto looked dumbfounded. The 3 generations of water shadow of mist hidden village were actually killed, and it was inevitable that there were some incredible feelings in their hearts. Do you think I don't have this strength? It's not, it's just that I suddenly felt a little unacceptable. After all, it was a shadow of a big ninja village, and it was actually killed, Mikoto said with a slight shake of her head. It's not that they don't think that Xingyu doesn't have this strength. They haven't doubted Xingyu's strength. But suddenly a big man dies, and they always have a strange feeling in their hearts. What's so hard to accept about this? The 3 generations of Water Shadow are also people. What's so strange about being killed? Xingyu shrugged and said very simply, I'm afraid that only Xingyu can say this kind of words so easily. The shadow of a great ninja village represents the peak combat power of this village. If the news of the death of the 3rd generation of Mizukage spreads, I am afraid that the entire ninja world will be shocked. However, in Xingyu's heart, the shadows of the major ninja villages really have no cards, and the ones who really have cards must at least be Uchiha spot, and this kind of thing between the 1,000 hand pillars.